John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and in this episode I'm going to share with you guys my opinions on juice recipes. As the #1 juicer expert in the world, which means I've tested all the major brands juicers and posted YouTube videos on a lot of them on YouTube, over 600 episodes comparing juicers side by side. And the thing about juicers is that each one has their own sets of pros and cons, and you want to learn which pros and cons you will be willing to accept and which ones will work for you and which ones won't. Not every specific juicer will juice every different kind of produce item. Some juicers are more multifunctional than others. That being said, I'm not going to be even talking about juicers in this episode, other than letting you guys know that the NEMA J2 is the juicer that I use to basically make all these juices you guys are looking at here. I personally use the NEMA J2 the most because it is the simplest and easiest to use. You load up the hopper, shut the lid, turn it on, it makes your juice. You can literally walk away. It allows me to do bulk juicing, where we'll make bulk quantities of juice. Links down below to my video on how I made green juice as well as a root juice in this very juicer, and how I store the juice for up to a week in mason jars using these vacuum seal lids. Links down below to the videos on how to vacuum seal your juices for up to 7 days. So literally you could take one weekend day or a couple hours on a weekend day to make juices for the week and have all the fresh juices you want to drink. If you guys are interested in buying the NEMA J2 juicer, you can use the coupon code DJ55 for $55 off at nemaweld.com. When you use that coupon code DJ55 at nemaweld.com, not only do you guys save 10% off your purchase price, but NEMA will share a small percentage of the commission with me so that I can continue my work to make these educational videos about juicers, and more importantly in this episode, juice recipes. So as the #1 world's expert in juicers, trust me guys, I've been making juice recipes now for the last 27 years, since I've been juicing continuously all during that time. And I've learned a lot of tips and tricks over those years. In this video I hope to share many, but not all of them with you, because otherwise the video would be too long. But I want to share with you guys my thoughts on the recipes, because people often ask me, John, do you have a recipe book I could buy? Because I want to get your recipes. And you know, to be honest with you guys, I'm not the #1 best person for putting out a recipe book, because I have different thoughts about that topic, right? I think we are so individualized, and each one of us have different reasons for juicing. In addition, you know, I want you guys to become your own recipe book. I don't go, when I'm gonna make this pink juice, go to my recipe book, I want to make a pink juice. No, I look at the produce I got, calculate in my head with my supercomputer, which is more powerful than your iPhone. Don't forget we have some brains, and hopefully you're using them on a regular basis. And I come up with a recipe, and that's how I come up with all these recipes. None of these recipes are from a book. I come up with them on the fly based on recipes I've made in the past, plus, you know, reasons for making the recipes that I specifically have to benefit me and my health, and hopefully one day my family's health as well. And I'll make specific recipes tailored to those specific situations and needs. Now I know a lot of you guys that may have just bought your juicer, you have no idea to do all these things, to come up with your own recipes. So hopefully this video can be used as a guide to help you further along, to share with you guys some examples of what I put into my juices, and also how you guys could, more importantly, formulate your own juices without a recipe book, so you guys can get better results than a standard juice recipe can provide. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about influencer posted recipe videos. There's a lot of influencers online, whether you're reading it on a website, seeing it in a video, seeing a short 30-second TikTok or Instagram clip. You know, the influencer will say, drink this juice for inflammation, and it's like pineapple, blah blah blah, and you know, a few different ingredients, you know. And you know, when I see some of those videos, it kind of irks me and makes me upset on the inside, because you know, seriously guys, I am looking up like scientific journal published studies on a regular basis about different topics. I mean, just 2 days ago I was looking up microbiome and bacteria. The other day before that I was looking up like beta glucans in specific mushrooms and foods. I'm looking and researching different vegetable items and the different phytonutrients and phytochemicals and properties in them that have been researched and proven in scientific studies. whether it's human testing in some cases, laboratory animal testing in some cases, which I do not approve of, or just in-cell petri dish testing. You know, these are the studies that I look at when I formulate one of my recipes, and I honestly can't tell you if other influencers do that or not. Based on what I know and just looking at other influencer recipes, I'm thinking, man, these guys are whack jobs. Like, how could they be saying this is gonna lessen your inflammation in your body? Number one, they can't prescribe because they're not a medical doctor. Number two, while it is true that maybe pineapple has some anti-inflammatory bromelain enzyme, in my opinion, there are far more powerful, you know, inflammation preventing produce items you could be juicing instead. Furthermore, when I see like an anti-cancer juice recipe and it doesn't contain things like enzymes proven to kill cancer, like broccoli sprouts or onion sprouts or broccoli or allium family cruciferous vegetables or allium family vegetables, it makes me sad on the inside because influencers could have such a really strong influence on you guys to do that recipe because the influencer, with all their heart and in good meaning, you know, is trying to help you guys. But like, I look at the science, and I mean, I formulate my recipes a little bit differently based on my specific needs. That being said, if you guys are new, it's a whole conundrum to look up to the science, and some of you, I know a lot of you guys just want the easy answer, so maybe watch those influencer videos. I have put out in the past some videos where I'll say, drink this juice for weight loss, but please understand when I do that, you know, I formulate the recipes based on the science, and I'm really using that strongly. Like my recipe for weight loss, if you look at it, contains lots of anthocyanin-rich foods, which in published science shows that anthocyanin-rich or purple foods can ameliorate, basically, and help, you know, fat mice. Work in humans? Well, I don't know. They tested that maybe in some small other science they have, but you know, so that I try to do my best. And that being said, I don't try to come out with a lot of recipes. You know, I have a recipe for, you know, like a better sexual performance, and that's based on the fact that beets have been shown to improve your blood circulation, and sexual performance for men anyways is all about blood circulation. In that recipe is basically beets and jicama. Jicama also researched that can increase your nitric oxide levels, that can help you have better performance for that matter. So this is what I try to do, and I don't know if other influencers are doing that. And when I see some of the influencer recipes, once again, kind of upsets me. So that's why I'm making this video, because I want to go beyond teaching you guys just the recipe and teach you guys more like how I think. This is a lot more challenging than just giving you guys a recipe. And I know a lot of you guys might turn this video off now because you guys, just give me the recipe, John. Like, I want you guys to think. I mean, that's the biggest problem in today's world, is that people are not thinking for themselves, not thinking of answers to the problems, and just copycatting others. And hey, that's one way to live, to copycat others, but I think truly to excel in this world that we live in, we need to really start thinking for ourselves and coming up with maybe different answers, and answers for us based on especially sound science, if you guys believe the science for that matter. So now I want to share with you guys my purpose and reason for juicing, which may or may not be the same as your reason for juicing. You know, I juice because of the fact that juices allows me to increase the quantity of fruits, and especially vegetables, and more importantly leafy green vegetables and herbs, and get them into me. It is shown in scientific studies that, you know, certain fruits and vegetables, leafy greens and herbs, can be quite disease preventative, you know, disease reversing, and help us in our health. So I specifically juice for my health. I know some people out there and influencers want to juice for taste and for, you know, comfort or for hydration, which are all important to me as well. But you know, I am specifically after the health benefits of juicing. I almost lost my life when I was younger, and that's why I started following a fruit and vegetable dominated diet where juicing is a part of my diet to maximize my uptake of fruits and vegetables, especially the leafy greens and vegetables, if I didn't say that already, and get them in a tasty way that is more absorbable for my microbiome and my digestive system. You know, by removing some but not all the fiber. Links down below, the video on juice does contain fiber. You know, the soluble fiber in the juice can help feed the microbiome. In addition, the phytonutrients that have been basically broken away from the fiber are now more easily absorbed in our digestive system and can get into your bloodstream much faster. In addition, you know, a lot of people may not have the best working digestive system to digest foods, and juicing can help, you know, alleviate, you know, the problems that some people have with digestion if they're not used to eating their vegetables and, you know, can't handle their fiber. Removing some of the fiber can be quite beneficial. And I want to remind you guys that even the soluble fiber and some of the specific phytonutrients in the juices, such as polyphenols, can feed our probiotics in our intestines, despite not being a whole food, because I know there's some people that are into eating whole foods, and I love whole foods. I eat lots of whole foods aside from my juices. I vacuum blend things up. I eat salads, eat fruits. I just had a meal of figs. I actually had figs with green juice, and it can be quite amazing and delicious. But, you know, that's my reason for juicing, and I would ask you to say, what is yours? You know, put down below in the comments, why do you juice, right? And, you know, that's going to guide you as to what kind of recipes do you want to make. If you're juicing for calories because you're a sports endurance athlete and you want to, you know, get a lot of sugar in you and maybe some electrolytes at the same time, you could make up recipes for that. I'll probably soon be doing that with my nephew Nico, because he drinks a lot of Gatorade, and I want to at least get him something healthier than Gatorade, and that's going to be a fun episode. So click the subscribe button for that and click the bell so you get notified as many videos come out when I do make that video. But there's many reasons for juicing. So number one, I want you guys to know the reason why you're juicing. And hopefully the recipes that you will find online, whether you still want to be a copycat or come up with your own recipes, will lead towards your reason for juicing and other health goals. Now, the other reason for juicing for me is to maximize my leafy green, herb, and vegetable consumption. I don't necessarily juice to increase my fruit consumption, because eating fruits is quite easy. Many of you guys love to eat fruits just out of hand. You could eat a watermelon, eat some peaches, eat some cherries, eat some rambutan, jackfruit, lychees. These are all amazing fruits, and I rarely ever juice those fruits. There's cases that I do, of course. But how many of you guys will pick up a whole head of kale and eat it? I mean, I know maybe a few people that might do that, but most people aren't going to do that. And while we can easily digest fruits, we aren't the best at digesting vegetables, especially if you don't chew them up really well. And that's why I really want to encourage you guys to juice your leafy green vegetables and other vegetables that you would not necessarily eat raw. For example, carrots. I juiced carrots last night, made over a gallon of carrot juice. Actually, it's this recipe on the bottom, the carrot juice recipe, right? And the carrot juice allows me to get a lot more carrots and eat more carrots than I would, because I don't really like chewing on carrots, and it just takes a long time, and most people don't chew their carrots too much, and breaking open the carrot fibers in the carrots and basically releasing the nutrients and the beta carotene in there. Studies show it's absorbed more quickly within us, and we can have higher levels of beta carotene in our blood than eating them raw or whole alone, which can be very important if you're like a cancer survivor or maybe trying to have an opportunity with that. And so I want you guys to remember that, like, try to focus on the vegetables, guys. Minimize the fruit. Will I say fruit juice is bad? No, because the science does not say that. Link down below why fruit juice is not as bad as you think, right? But once again, vegetables are the king. Leafy greens are God, if you want to use that word for it. And, you know, we really want to focus on the leafy greens and other herbs that are quite powerful, have beneficial properties within them that can help you get closer to your health goals if that's what you're seeking. So the third point of this video is I want to show you guys my purpose for making a specific juice recipe. Some of you guys may have a different purpose than me, and some days I have a different purpose than other days. Some days the way I formulate a recipe totally changes based on things happening in my life or produce I have, right? Or reasons for me wanting to make a juice. Maybe I'm feeling a bit sore that day, so then I'll make an anti-inflammation juice that day. Maybe I have a lot of extra produce, like, oh, I got some cucumbers that are starting to get rotted, and I got to cut off the rotted spots and juice them and get them into a juice, vacuum seal them, so now I can store them so they don't go bad. I don't have to just compost them, right? Yeah, there could be many purposes for creating a specific juice recipe, right? And I want to go ahead and share those with you guys right now. So some of the purposes that I've come up with, and maybe you guys have others, and this is all right too, whatever the purpose is. One of my main purposes is to get healthy. Hey, how can I get healthier? By drinking these juices, right? If you're currently eating McDonald's and drinking a Coke and stuff, right? Any juice, I would say, that you make fresh is better than that. So then, man, all you got to do is just juice. So that's a lot easier. No, for me, like to get healthier on juices, that means juicing more leafy greens and more vegetables, and especially vegetables that I might not otherwise be eating in my diet. Another reason why I have for creating a certain juice recipe is to use up produce. I bulk buy produce, and I probably buy too much produce. I mean, I'm going to admit it, I'm a produce buyer-aholic. I have a problem. At least it's a fairly good problem, and the result is I gotta make a lot of juice because I buy a lot of produce. I'll see a deal on organic apples for 50 cents a pound, and I'll buy 20 pounds of apples. You know, I'll see jicama on sale for 33 or 50 cents a pound. I'll buy 20 pounds of jicama. I see cucumbers, you know, that I could get, you know, 5 pounds for like $2, and I'll buy like 10 cucumbers, you know. So it's like super crazy. I buy a lot of produce, and sometimes I just need to go through the produce to get it into a jar to vacuum seal it so it could store for another 7 days in my fridge, so it gives me time to drink it before the produce goes bad. Maybe you guys, a lot of you guys won't be in this situation. Maybe some of you guys will, but you know, I know a lot of you guys might buy produce and you don't have bulk quantities, but maybe you bought a head of kale and some cucumbers and some other random things that is going to go bad, and if you don't use it really quick, it's going to go bad. So like, hey, I got to use that to make my juice. So hopefully later in this episode, I'll show you guys how to use your produce to actually make a good tasting juice recipe instead of a bad one. Because trust me, I've made lots of juice recipes in the past where I just put everything but the kitchen sink in the juice, and it tasted so horrible. Still good for me, but horrible nonetheless. And my goal these days is to make good tasting or neutral tasting juices that maybe have a little bit of kick to it, a little bit of spice to it, you know, but that actually tastes really good and mild so that I could drink it, you know. The other thing I will say is that I've been accustomed to drinking more stronger juices, because I'll drink a juice like it tastes pretty weak and like mellow to me. I'll give it to a friend that comes over and she's like, wow, this is like way strong. So over time you will build up a tolerance to drinking juices that are a bit more stronger, but especially if you're new, you're totally not used to it. So you want to use some of my tips in a later section. Some of you guys may want to make a juice to substitute for soda, right? And if you guys are substituting out soda, you guys are used to your sweet and fizzy drinks. Link down below to my video how I made cherry soda with the juicer by carbonating cherry juice, cherry with apple juice I made. And that's infinitely better than drinking a soda. And you guys are probably going to want to make more like fruit-based juices that tend to be a lot sweeter. That being said, there are fruits that are healthier to juice than others, in my personal opinion. For example, if you're juicing pineapples, you know, that's not the best choice for juicing fruits. While they are sweet, and while I do juice them sometimes, when you juice pineapples, you only keep 10% of the fiber because there's not a lot of soluble fiber in pineapples. In my opinion, apples or even green apples would be a better choice for juicing for fruits because it has pectin in there. Pectin's water soluble, and you're going to get a much more richer juice that contains a lot more of these beneficial soluble fibers. Another thing amazing to juice is grapefruit without the coloring on the outside. So peel off that orange or pink or red coloring on the outside, but just keep that white pith. That white pith is full of pectin, and I've had grapefruit juice with the, you know, white pith juice, and it basically it'll homogenize in the jar and just turn into a solid mass, and that's like all the fiber. It's kind of like a jello mass. It's really weird, but you know, so that's a better fruit to juice than pineapple because, you know, the soluble fiber can help regulate our blood sugar. Now the other thing I'll say, if you guys are trying to create soda alternatives, I would say and encourage you guys to also add some vegetables to it, you know. So hey, juice lots of apples and add just enough carrots so that it doesn't taste too gross to you, but you're still getting in your vegetables, because I always want you guys to hide vegetables in when you guys are juicing fruits. That's something I always do. When I'm juicing fruits, I always try to get some leafy greens, vegetables, or other herbs in there. Now some of you guys, like me, may be juicing for hydration. Maybe you live in a place that is a very arid climate. That means it's a very dry climate, and literally the moisture is being sucked out of you because you live in an arid climate. It's not super humid. And so I drink the juices instead of hydrating and drinking more water. So I prefer to drink juices. So in that case, I make some really mild juices. Actually, this juice on the corner is one of my hydration juices. You see it's kind of yellow, but not really. That's because it's probably like 3/4 cucumber, probably another bit of jicama, and then a small amount of pineapple with a little ginger to make it more on the antioxidant or anti-inflammatory side and give it a little bit of spice and flavor. So you guys could make juices that are, you know, richer in more neutral vegetables. So neutral vegetables would be something like jicama, cucumbers, zucchinis, even things like celery or romaine hearts. These are very neutral vegetables if you want to add them to a juice, and they could be like the base, the watery base that don't have a lot of flavor, and then you could stack on other more, complex flavors. In this case, I put pineapple because I had some pineapple going bad, and it also adds a tad bit of sweetness, but it's mostly a neutral juice with a tad bit of sweetness. Another purpose for recipe creation, or one of your goals, should be like, hey, I want to juice recipes that are cheap. So then you would basically go to the store and buy the cheapest produce, cost per pound, and juice it. I'll tell you guys, if you guys just want to juice cheap and make lots of juice, the easiest thing to do is watermelon. At present time, this is watermelon season. Watermelon could run as low as 20 cents per pound, 25. I got some watermelon at the local farm, 25 cents per pound. And you want to juice the rind, because the rind can be juiced on the watermelon. I throw the seeds and all through the Namaje2. It spits out the seeds, gives you guys lots of juice. And that could be a good, inexpensive juice to make. Probably the cheapest vegetable you guys could find is if you could find juice carrots near you. They often come in a big 25-pound sack. They may be able to order them if they don't have them out. Some of my grocery stores here have them on display, like the Smiths here. I think when I checked last time, they run anywhere between $5.99 to $8.99 for a 25-pound bag of non-organic conventional carrots. If you guys need to get organic carrots, then Costco or Sam's Club has those carrots for about 60 cents a pound. And in general, 1 pound of produce will create approximately 1 cup of juice. I mean, earlier this week, actually, this juice right here on the top is a free juice, because I went into my local health food store and said, hey, what do you guys do with all the produce that you guys pick out that have a bad spot that you're going to throw away? Like, oh, we give that to people who want to compost it. So I basically walked out with like 4 boxes of produce. Now, I'll tell you guys, like about 2 boxes of that stuff was compost and did go into my compost bin. But then I picked out the stuff that just had a bad spot. I washed it really good, cut out the bad spot with an extra margin, and then juiced it. And that's how I made this juice here. I basically juiced the apples and pears and the lemon that they gave me, but I actually also added in some jicama that I had on hand to juice. So I had jicama, apple, pear, and lemon. Oh, and then I think I also added some ginger just to give it a little bit of kick. And once again, I really love the ginger flavor, and it's actually a undervalued herb that people should juice more of. So yeah, I mean, each one of these juicers has a story. Maybe I'll go over some of the other ones that I didn't get to go over when I'm done with this section. Another reason I want to cover for making a juice recipe is probably the one that you guys are going to do the most of. It may be for a specific condition. Hey John, I have alopecia and I want to make a recipe juice that's going to help me grow my hair. Or maybe you have a certain, dis-ease in your body that you want to make a juice for. Now, I'm not a doctor, and if you guys have any kind of disease, please consult a proper medical physician, doctor, and ask them the juice recipe that you should use. They might look at you like you're crazy. So when this happens to me, what I do is Google is your best friend, or actually even better than Google would be to go to scholar.google.com, which is still Google, and you could research scientific published studies. This is how I often come up with my own juice recipes, that I'll go to scholar.google.com and I'll type in a condition, and fruits and vegetables are usually just vegetables or leafy green vegetables, or you can just go to Google and type in your condition, like asthma, good vegetables for asthma, and then it'll come up with a list of vegetables that may be good for asthma. Then you might want to go to scholar.google.com and then verify that the website you're seeing that information on is accurate, because, in science there's vegetables that are sometimes more important than others to have, and you guys got to do your own research on that. So let's go for, as an example, cancer. Now, if you have cancer, once again, go see a proper doctor. Although I have met many people that have cured themselves from cancer with juicing as a part of their overall program. I'm not going to make any claims as to what juicing can or cannot do. I can tell you that me personally, that, I believe that nutrition can support any disease and help your body fight any disease, because it's not the juice that does all the magic. Our buddies do all the magic, and the juice can provide some support to help encourage that to happen. That being said, in the scientific published studies, broccoli sprouts are shown to be a cancer fighter. and also anti-aging, and is good for a lot of other things. I would not necessarily juice broccoli sprouts myself. I feel that is a waste of broccoli sprouts. However, I would vacuum blend broccoli sprouts into a blended mixture, or I would just eat broccoli sprouts. That being said, eating some mature broccoli from the grocery store is not my favorite thing to do. I would juice broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage, which is in the cruciferous family of plants. Also things like bok choy, even mustard greens that could actually get quite hot and spicy. Arugula, which is actually another one of my favorite things to juice. These are all in the cruciferous family of plants that have some cancer fighting ability. So those I would definitely be adding to the juice. Another cancer fighting property is the allium family of plants, or garlic and onions. And for, you know, I'd also include maybe a little bit of garlic or onions in my juice. The red onions would be better than the white onions to juice for their nutrition content. Link down below to my video where I did on juicing onions. Actually, there's a study for onions and alopecia. And also make sure you don't get the sweet onions. I know you guys want to cop out and get the sweet onions because they don't taste as bad, but the non-sweet onions have more of the cancer-fighting properties than the sweet onions do. That being said, you could also grow onion sprouts, which are more powerful probably than the onions whole. Once again, on the sprouts, I would vacuum blend them, or I personally would just eat them and chew them up raw. So those are 2 ingredients I would put, but then if you guys make something with the wrong 2 ingredients, it could taste really hardcore. So like if you just did kale or collard greens, which are cruciferous vegetables, and then like a whole bunch of red onions, that would taste horrible. But at the same time, if you put something like more mild in, like maybe like using bok choy, right, which is a really mild brassica vegetable. So a lot of bok choy, especially the big ones that have the white stems, those are really watery, but you're still getting the anti-cancer. I would combine that with a small amount of kale, and then maybe just a half an onion or a quarter onion, and maybe 1 clove of garlic, so it's not super strong. So that'd be a good base to start with, but now you want to add liquid content, like one of the things I talked about earlier about adding liquid content to dilute that down. Use something like the jicama. You could use something like carrots, you could use something like zucchini, you could use something like celery, you could use something like cucumbers, maybe some small amounts of green apples in there to basically add volume to that juice so it's not quite as strong. You temper it down. I mean, this is my basis for creating all the recipes that I do. I basically have my watery fruits and vegetables that will be my base, and then I'll add some of the medicinal ones in smaller quantities. If you're more hardcore, like, you know, I've used straight like cannabis greens, which would be a smaller component, you know, and just drank shots. I drank straight onion juice. Link down below to the video on that. Not going to probably do that again. I've drank a lot of, I drank straight ginger juice, which you don't want to do that. Trust me, you'll probably vomit. I almost did. You know, so some of these medicinals like turmeric and ginger, also 2 of my favorite medicinals to use, or medicinal herbs in juices for their health benefits, right? So yeah, the ingredients are just so many different ingredients, so I want you guys to make up your own recipes based on some of the science instead of just following another influencer. But yeah, the purpose and the reason why you are making a specific recipe hopefully will influence the recipe that you put together. So actually what I want to do next before I go on to the next and final section of the video, which is ingredients that you guys may want to be using and the purpose for ingredients, is I want to go over some of these juices I made. So this juice, why did I make it? I made this because I actually had a lot of tomatoes going bad, and I'm like, how do I get rid of my tomatoes and have like a nice stock? Because I usually use this. I'll drink it if I want to have hydration, but sometimes I will cook with this, like cook my beans or rice in the juice instead of water, because I have so much juice that I just need to go through and use. It adds a nice flavor to my rice and beans when I cook it in juice. Also because this juice has the tomatoes, it transforms a lycopene into a different kind of lycopene that may be better absorbed into my body. So this juice, I had to use my tomatoes, and I always have lots of jicama on hand, one of my favorite root vegetables to juice. It's high in inulin, has a really mild flavor, neutral flavor, doesn't taste too strong, and it's actually relatively inexpensive. I get it for usually 33 cents to 89 cents a pound. My current batch I'm on, that cost me 50 cents a pound. It makes lots of juice, really mild. You could even drink it, juice it alone. Actually, link down below if I remember. I made basically a nut milk substitute that doesn't contain any nuts or seeds. It's made with jicama and dates, which is quite amazing. So that's like, it even kind of tastes maybe a little bit nutty. You could go there. Anyways, this recipe is basically just tomatoes with jicama. And that's why I made it. Had too many tomatoes. This is my go-to juice recipe. This is my green juice. I don't miss a day generally where I don't drink green juice if I'm at home, unless I'm like super busy. I always have green juice in my fridge ready. This juice recipe is a bit more complex. It's based on produce that I grew, plus produce that I sourced locally, and organic produce from the store that's a good cost. So, for example, this green juice, the formulation is one large, oversized, locally grown cucumber, like super big Armenian. I also added 1 head of organic celery. I added 2 heads of organic cabbage. The celery is good for electrolytes and also has some apigenin, has lots of good things on that. The green cabbage, of course, cruciferous family, anti-cancer. In addition to that, I added my homegrown kale and collard greens, so a lot of dinosaur kale, a few a few broccoli leaves, so I prefer to juice broccoli leaves instead of the broccoli flower. And then I also added in some tree collards, and then I added in a lemon to that to kind of help preserve it better. My Meyer lemon that I grew myself, and then I also added in a bunch of maybe like a dozen ashitaba stalks. Ashitaba is in the same family as celery, and it has these things called chalcones. You have to research that on your own, but they're very powerful in disease prevention and reversal based on some of the science that I've seen. I think that's all the ingredients in this recipe that I can remember. It's usually, I use a mixture of different. I also put I put organic romaine hearts, 9 organic romaine hearts in this juice. So it's like romaine hearts, celery, and cucumbers are like the main base that make it like kind of neutral. The cabbage, the green cabbage, is kind of mild, although you could get a spicy head sometimes. That's a little bit more hardcore than exactly neutral like those other ones. Then we get into the kales that are a lot more stronger, and the ashitaba has a sweet / bitter taste. And the celery, I don't know if I mentioned, but that's like one of the more watery ones. So yeah, I memean, this is an interesting juice. I like it. And if you guys are new, for green juice, you might want to do like a base of celery, cucumber, romaine, and then add in a little bit of kale for that to make a nice green juice. And then you could add in broccoli, just the broccoli flowers, or any other vegetables you want, But this is the basis of my green juice. Generally these days I don't add any fruit to my green juice. I simply don't need it, don't want it. I try to have been drinking my green juice in the morning, but lately I've been trying to maybe drink a fruit juice in the morning, then maybe have my green juice a little bit later in the day. Today I had figs with my green juice. Alright, next juice, I told you guys what this is. This is that apple, free lemon, and some jicama with some ginger. Next, this juice. This is my watermelon juice. So I had a big, huge watermelon I got at Costco organic for like $6.99. It was like 33 pounds because I weighed it, and that's an incredible deal. I cut it open with a friend, and we ate part of it, but I had like 2/3 left, and it was just sitting in my fridge for a week. And I'm like, man, I really need to use that watermelon because I'm not going to eat it. It's not quite as sweet as it could be. So basically, I juiced the watermelon with jicama, right? So now I'm adding some vegetables to the watermelon. To up it, add some soluble fiber in there as well. I also added a little bit of ginger, lime, and I picked a little bit of mint out of my garden. So it's basically a watermelon, mint, ginger, jicama juice to get rid of the watermelon that I had that was going to expire in my fridge because I have other fruits I'd rather eat this time of year, including lots of stone fruits, including nectarines and peaches. Alright, this bottom juice, actually I made this bottom juice last night. This is basically my purple plant attack juice. I just named it just off the top of my head. My goal with this juice is to increase my anthocyanin content. If you guys want to see the juice recipes that I make on a regular basis, you want to follow me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is @growingyourgreens, where I often will post what I'm eating, what I'm growing, and also when I do juices, I'll show the picture of the juice as well as share with you guys the recipe that I'm making if you guys want to know what I'm making. But this recipe is basically 2 heads of red cabbage, about 5 beets, and then I used 3 jicama. I also used some 3 apples and some lemon. Oh, and then some tomatoes. And that's basically this juice here. I really want to crank in my purple foods. Anthocyanins are very health beneficial. In addition, of course, the red cabbage, cabbage family plant, anti-cancer, Beets, good for your blood circulation. They're rich in betalains. I also added ginger and turmeric. Three different kinds of turmeric that I got from, I think it's Aloha turmeric in Hawaii, for extra added kick. This is what I would traditionally call my root juice. Normally I would also put purple carrots and other orange carrots in here. Oh, let's not forget, I also put in purple sweet potato that can be juiced. That's purple sweet potatoes, not regular purple potatoes. I rarely ever, if ever, juice standard potatoes. But yeah, purple sweet potatoes can be juiced. They add lots of fiber or starch to your juice as well. These next two juices are my carrot juice, also made last night. I made over 2 gallons of juice last night. These two carrot juices, what they contain are a 5-pound bag of carrots that I needed to use, and then a recipe from Jay Cordage, which was carrots and cantaloupe. So I actually had 2 cantaloupes that I needed to use because they were going bad. So that was the goal of this juice, is to get rid of the cantaloupes. But hey, how can I make the cantaloupes healthier? Well, hey, I could make the Jay Cordage juice by adding some carrots in it. So I had 2 organic cantaloupes, 5 pounds of organic carrots. I also added in there my homegrown Moringa. So I picked about half a dozen stems off the tree of the Moringa, juice that in there. Moringa also has properties of a brassica family vegetable, so it's like anti-cancer, has an ithocyaninates, and also put some ginger in there as well just to kick it up, take it to the next level. See, I told you guys what this bottom juice is, and I think actually all the juices that I have out on the table. So you guys can see, I juice things for a variety of reasons. Once again, I'm not juicing the same exact recipe every day. Every week I make my green juice. It's different because it's based on the produce in my garden, what I could get. And that's another very important point I want to lay on you guys right now is I personally do not believe making the same juice day in and day out is beneficial for people. It may be for a certain period of time, but after that period of time, your body has maybe some saturation on some of those nutrients, and maybe you may be flooding your body with potential anti-nutrients. Like if you're drinking spinach juice every day, or things made with like Swiss chard every day, that's a lot of oxalates. Now, while you may be able to digest the oxalates properly because you have oxalate digesting bacteria in your gut, if you have a healthy gut microbiome, you might not be. And if you're prone to getting kidney stones and other stones in your body, it could be a really bad thing, to be juicing that many oxalates. So, for that reason, I encourage you guys to juice a diversity. You don't just see me having only all green juices, right? And every week, my juice recipes change based on the produce that's in season that I could get organically, locally, inexpensively. And so I would always encourage you guys to switch up your different recipes that you're drinking. So you're not drinking the same exact thing every single day for years on end, because, I see in the literature, in the scientific studies, this lady drank, bok choy juice for like two months straight and then end up in the hospital with some problem, right? It's because you're overdoing one or a few vegetables, right? Or you could do that with fruits too, overdose on anything. So I really want you guys to juice a variety of things, and let's not forget that every different produce item has a whole spectrum of different vitamins and minerals, small amounts of anti-nutrients that I believe in proper quantities our bodies can deal with. And I want you guys to have a range, because what do they say? They say eat the rainbow. So I want you guys to, eat the rainbow, but also when you juice the rainbow. So the final part of this episode is I want to show you guys the specific ingredients I use. As you guys can see, I formulate a lot of different recipes, and in each recipe is certain ingredients. You guys learn some of the ingredients I use are more watery ingredients to dilute my juice down to make a higher quantity. And then I top it off with maybe some more stronger ingredients so my juices don't taste super nasty and bad. And so, but there's a number of reasons and number of ingredients and reasons why you may want to use them. So let's go over those next. So the first reason why you may choose an ingredient in a recipe is because it is actually a high yield ingredient. You could put it in the juicer, and high yield ingredients generally will juice fast and give you guys lots of juice relatively quickly without a lot of work in the juicer. Some produce items are a lot more higher in water content. So when I think high yield, something I could juice, I go to watermelon. Watermelon, you could take the watermelon, squeeze it in your hand, and literally the juice will come out. That is a super high yield there's probably nothing higher than watermelons. That being said, other melons can be juiced. This season I've been juicing things like cantaloupe and lots of honeydew melons that aren't maybe quite the sweetest, but you could even use those in recipes. Honeydew melons are related to cucumbers, so you can almost use them like cucumbers if they're not that sweet. I particularly juice Armenian cucumbers because they're grown by a local farm, and they're kind of like a cross between a cucumber and a melon. When they're young and small, you could use them as cucumbers, and as they get a lot more mature and old, they could actually turn orange on the inside a little bit and get a tad bit sweet and actually get quite large, and they're quite seedy. But when they're the largest is when I like to juice them the most for myself for a high yield produce item. Now, aside from that, other things that are high yield, maybe on the vegetable side, are things like celery and romaine hearts, which are two of my favorites. And on the fruit side, something like citrus, tangerines or grapefruits. Once again, those are super watery fruits. They're going to add a lot of liquid to your juices, and actually a lot of the Suja Juice Company, when you buy a green juice, if you look, the base is usually either, grapefruits or apples, because they'll add a lot of, high yielding, low cost, and add a lot of volume to the juice, but they're not adding a lot of functionality, in my personal opinion. Actually, next ingredient you may want to use are functional ingredients. These are probably the most important to me. Why did I spike my carrot juice with Moringa from my garden? Well, because I'm growing Moringa and I could use it. But also, Moringa is a very powerful food. Whether you want to, grow it in your garden, which is great, and juice it. I have a link down below where I juice Moringa right out of the garden. If I remember, I'll put the link down below. But you could get Moringa powder. You could actually add the powder back into your juice after. You could also, I'll probably make another video on additions to your juice to crank up your juice better that you could add in, like powders and whatnot, right? If you guys want that video, hey, thumbs this video up. I've been playing with juices for so long, and I have all the knowledge that I want to share with you guys, so thanks for watching this video. And if you guys appreciate this video, like this video, and if you guys want to support me, you can support me by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. That directly supports me. That is my company. When you purchase at discountjuicers.com, I can continue to make these videos. Of course, if you want to buy the NAMA J2, I'll save you guys $55 off by using the coupon code DJ55 at namawell.com. You'll save 10% off, and NAMA will send me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys. I appreciate your guys' support so much so that I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys. So to me, functional ingredients are ingredients you're going to put in a smaller amounts, and maybe even sometimes in higher amounts, that actually have some function or use to them in your recipe. For example, a lot of my recipes, I will always use ginger, because if I add ginger in a recipe, it's going to make it that much more anti-inflammatory, right? Same thing with turmeric. Turmeric is a very functional and good addition to your juices, and I would encourage you guys to always have turmeric and ginger on hand to add those in. I particularly like the flavor of ginger a little bit more, especially than the common turmeric. It's the common yellow Indian turmeric. I think it's called Indra turmeric, that you could buy when you go to the store. But if you buy from Aloha Turmeric in Hawaii, you could get like red Hawaiian turmeric that actually has a better flavor. Or you could even get mango white turmeric that basically is like, is a way better flavor. I'll just say that. In addition, other functional ingredients could be things like herbs. So like this time of year, I have lots of basil in my garden, so I'll often make like a basil watermelon juice to, once again, up my nutrition game in my watermelon juice by adding basil or adding mint that I have basically growing in unlimited quantities in my garden. On some levels, you could think of functional ingredients, things like kale and collard greens. I also have growing those in my garden year-round. I can always harvest some kale and get some anti-cancer fighting properties, anti-aging, youthing properties in there, as well as a host of other vitamins and minerals. Especially this time of year in the summertime, my kale gets quite hot and spicy, which may not be super desired, but in small amounts can be quite good. So, and that's where you could look up those functional ingredients, like on scholar.google.com, and find out some other ones that you may use. To me, ashwagandha is a quite functional ingredient. While it does add a lot of liquid, because I'm juicing primarily stems, like the stalks of celery, it has a flavor to it, but it's actually quite functional. So I always want to encourage you guys to add some functional ingredients to your juices. Even something like carrots, if you look at it, could be functional. It has farcarinol, which can be deadly to cancer. The Gerson therapy program, if you guys looked it up, they use apples and carrots. A On some levels, even apples could be functional. If you want to juice apples for their functionality, you guys want to get the little small apples. The small apples or crab apples, even wild apples, if you guys could find them, are much healthier to eat than the large apples. Why would this be? Because the most functional part of the apple are two parts. Number one, I'm going to say the skin is the most functional part of the apple. It's the different fibers in the skin and nutrients in the skin that could help feed our microbiome and have lots of beneficial effects. In addition, the center core of the apple could also be beneficial due to its beneficial prebiotic fibers and microbiome that's contained within the core of the apple. I generally don't remove my apple seeds. I do put those through my juicer, but I don't sit there and juice like tons of apples, right? As apple seeds can have small amounts of cyanide that in proper quantities we should be able to detoxify. That being said, if you guys are cautious, hey, you guys could feel free to remove them, but to me, juicing apple seeds is functional. Another criteria for choosing ingredients is their potency. This will let you know on how potent something is and how much you should add in or how much you shouldn't, right? So for example, something like ginger is quite potent, and even like a half an inch or an inch of a ginger could really blow your juice up. You could juice like this much watermelon, put 2 inches of ginger, and now you've ruined your watermelon juice because you added too much ginger, and now the ginger is just really overpowering. Cayenne pepper, right? You could juice some, don't juice Buchalocas or Trinidad scorpion tea peppers because you're gonna be, yeah, not too happy. But even juicing like a jalapeno pepper, right? One small jalapeno pepper in like 4 quarts of juice could be enough heat for you. Depends on how hot that jalapeno pepper is, right? You know, even to some, like certain kales could be quite high potency and really strong tasting in your juices. You know, I know the basil that I juice is quite strong, and if I add too much basil to my juice, it basically blows up the flavor of the juice. So when I juice my watermelon basil, I will oftentimes purposely put too much basil, and I no longer taste the sweetness of the watermelon. I taste the more harshness of the basil, but I'm doing it because I want the functionality of the anthocyanins and other health properties of the basil in my watermelon juice. I'm not necessarily doing it for flavor, but if I was, I would reduce it significantly. So I want you guys to pay attention on the potency and like the garlic family plant. So like you're juicing garlic or onions, those guys could also be quite potent. So you don't want to add too many of those ingredients to your recipes or else it's going to get too strong and may not be quite as enjoyable to drink, although it will have better functionality. Another reason why I choose ingredients in specific recipes is because some ingredients, frankly, work better in certain juicers than others. Right? So if you have like a NAMA J2 juicer, right, this juicer will pretty much juice everything fairly well. That being said, if it's something super fibrous, you know, they could cause problems and backup and clogging. For example, like when I juiced some of the Moringa, I did not pre-cut it, and some of the stalks did get stuck in the outlet port, so half the outlet port was clogged, but the other half kept flowing out. And the reason why this was problematic is because then some of the produce was staying in the juicer longer, grinding up, and there's creating more friction. So then the pulp coming out was a bit warmer until I unclogged the stuck Moringa strings that were coming out, and then it was more free-flowing and the pulp was cooler. So, you know, for this juicer, for example, you know, I like to juice lots of fruits and like the jicama. Fruits and jicama work really well, so you always want to couple like a fruit with a jicama. I always try to pre-cut my greens. You know, if you have like a horizontal auger style juicer, you know, straight fruit juices don't generally do too well in most horizontal auger juicers, but then leafy greens do. You know, in a pure juicer, for example, you know, I mean, you could pretty much juice anything, although wheatgrass doesn't work quite as well. But you may want to take into consideration your juicer. Say you have a centrifugal, those high-speed juicers that I am not a fan of by any means. Link down below to the video I did comparing the Breville High Speed to the NAMA J2 and how the NAMA J2 got significantly more juice. But if you have that kind of juicer, you want to really kind of lay off juicing things like leafy greens and herbs because you're really going to be wasting them. They're not going to really be coming out in the juice. In that case, I would just juice whatever you're going to juice and then blend up in the blender the leafy greens and herbs in smaller quantities because you're going to get a better value out of them because they're going to come out whole and not make a lot of juice. Plus, those style juicers tend to oxidize nutrients, but as does blenders that are not vacuum blenders. In addition, things like the high-speed juicers, vegetables that work really well in those are root vegetables. So you could base around carrots, beets, and jicama. Even daikon radish would do good in things like cucumbers fairly well, celery fairly well, but then fruits don't juice quite as well. They come out really wet in the pulp. So, you could choose your ingredients based on the juice you have. I like using the J2 because basically whatever I throw at it, it just works pretty well. Another reason why you may choose certain ingredients in a recipe is for basically just adding liquid content or neutral ingredients. So you could have a lot of those, like if you want to juice cauliflower, for example. To me, cauliflower is a fairly neutral ingredient. Jicama, also a very neutral ingredient. To me, carrots are fairly neutral, and I'd always encourage you guys to find multicolored carrots instead of just using always the orange carrots. Find white carrots to juice, find red carrots to juice. To me, those are quite neutral. Apples also quite neutral, and I prefer to use apples instead of citrus in my juices. I don't generally juice a lot of pears because it makes a really thick juice and they don't tend to juice too well. I tend not to juice a whole bunch of fruits, although if I have them, I will juice them, as you guys saw. The watermelon in this juice. I juice a little bit of pineapple in this, but for the most part, a lot of my juices are the vegetable-based juices, which is what I would recommend for you guys. So I think that's pretty much it for this video, all the knowledge I want to dump on you today. Hope this knowledge has helped you out. Think more about the recipes that influencers post online, the reasons why you're juicing, and how you could better formulate your recipes, and use some of my tips and techniques to formulate your recipes. Hopefully I was clear on everything. For me, when I'm thinking, how can I teach somebody to have my brain? I wish it was a program that I could say, hey, use this program and type in everything you got, and it'll come out with a recipe based on those ingredients. And maybe, hopefully, one day there'll be some AI technology to be able to capture what's in my brain and make it into an AI app. And you could basically, it'll model everything against the scientific published studies, which you could easily do. It takes some good, powerful programming to do that, and that'd be actually the best app ever. Is the AI app for recipe creation. I just thought of it just now. But hopefully now you guys could use your supercomputers to create recipes based on your specific needs. Whether you want to juice for function, whether you're juicing to just get juice in you at a low cost, whether you want to do it for functionality. Hopefully I've shared with you guys some of my thoughts and ideas on this topic so that you could be more efficient juicers. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and more importantly, share this video with others, especially people that make the same juice recipe day in and day out. I really want you guys to rotate the recipes that you guys are making and come up with your own recipes based on produce you could grow yourself, local produce you can source at local farms or farmers markets, and then fill in at the grocery store like I do. In this way, the world will be more sustainable. You'll be eating more local food, which I believe can have better microbiome benefits than food that is shipped in from afar. Local food is also a lot fresher and generally higher quality than shipped in food that has to be picked early to be able to travel the many miles that they do. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I have episodes coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. I'll probably be comparing some new 2 juicers soon, or showing you guys other information about juicing and juicers you guys are literally not going to hear anywhere else. So make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 600 episodes at this time on this channel, dedicated to sharing with you guys my juicer knowledge, juicing knowledge, as well as comparing all the different equipment, including juicers and vacuum blenders and other appliances that allow you to eat more fruits and vegetables, which are some of the healthiest foods on the entire planet. Links down below to my video on why I like the NAMA J2 the best, as well as other videos with the NAMA J2, as well as the videos I've referenced in this episode, such as how to store your juice for up to 7 days, and maybe I'll even include how to deep clean your juicer in case you got stains on it. This is truly information you're not going to hear anywhere else, and I hope I was of value today, and you will subscribe and check out my other videos. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.